President Kimjang has vowed to nurture Korean food as a strategic export industry, pointing out the potential of K-food and its exports that have already hit an all-time high as of last month. The National Assembly is marking the last day of its regular session today. A plenary session is still ongoing, with the main opposition People Power Party launching a filibuster. Those who live alone here in South Korea made up around 36% of all households in the country in 2024, the single largest household category. President Kimjang, presiding over a weekly cabinet meeting focused on promoting K-food exports, vowed to turn the business into a strategic export item. Our Yoon Jung-min leads our coverage tonight.
Nurturing K-food as a strategic export industry. That was the key message from President Kimjang during a weekly cabinet meeting that mainly focused on discussing measures to promote exports of K-food.
올해 들어서 지난달까지 K-푸드 수출의 규모가 역대 최고 실적을 경신했다고 합니다. 입맛을 사로잡는 것은 마음을 사로잡는 것이다.
He added that interest in K-food originates from the popularity of K-culture, and it contributes to an increase in exports, stressing the importance of promoting Korea on a global scale.
관계부처는 해외 마케팅, 물류 지원, 관광 연계 상품 개발, 지식재산권 보호 강화 같은 종합 지원 방안을 마련하면 좋겠습니다.
A special planning bureau dedicated to K-food exports will soon be launched. Other than diversifying export markets and items, an idea has been floated regarding creating a school to nurture chefs to meet the growing demand.
We suggest creating a famous Korean food school, tentatively called Sura School.
President Lee instructed his officials to review establishing specialized schools for K-food cooking classes. Other discussions included exporting surplus rice, as Lee said rice prices in Japan have tripled.
우리나라는 쌀 남아서 맨날 시끄럽죠. 일본도 계약제비 수출하면 어때요?
Also on the table for Tuesday were methods to improve voting rights for overseas Koreans, such as expanding polling stations and introducing mail-in or electronic voting, as the president instructed his officials to make sure no one feels left alone. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Now, speaking of K-food, First Lady Kim Hye-kyung hosted a Kimjang or kimchi-making event on Tuesday for the spouses of foreign ambassadors to South Korea. In her opening remarks, Kim highlighted that Kimjang is a UNESCO-inscribed cultural heritage, describing it as a festival-like tradition that brings families and neighbors together. At Tuesday's event, which included kimchi making and tasting, was attended by the First Lady and the spouses of 11 ambassadors, including those from Argentina, Australia, and Canada. Police searched the headquarters of e-commerce giant Coupang Incorporated following a massive breach of personal information. And a related committee looking into the case will summon Coupang founder and chairman Kim Bum-seok as a key witness for a hearing next Wednesday. Cha Yoon-kyung has more.
Police searched the headquarters of e-commerce giant Coupang Incorporated on Tuesday over a massive breach of personal information that affected around 34 million people. The Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency's cyber investigation team sent 17 officers to the company's headquarters in southern Seoul to search for internal documents and records related to the breach. Police have reportedly been tracking down the suspect behind the leak to check for possible lapses in Coupang security after securing the Internet Protocol address and server logs that were used. There's a possibility that the search and seizure might take more than a day due to the amount of information stolen. The National Assembly Science, ICT, Broadcasting, and Communications Committee will summon Coupang founder and chairman Kim Bum-seok as a key witness at a hearing on December 17th into his company's massive personal data breach. A total of 10 people will be summoned for the hearing, including Coupang executives, Kim, CEO Park Tae-jun, and expert witnesses. Kim did not appear at a related inquiry held at the National Assembly on the 2nd and 3rd, so it is still uncertain whether he will attend the upcoming hearing. Meanwhile, Daeryun, a South Korean law firm, has officially announced plans to file a lawsuit against Coupang in a U.S. federal court along with its U.S. branch, SJKP, during a press conference held in New York City on Monday local time. The firm said it has already secured over 200 plaintiffs and intends to pursue simultaneous litigation in both South Korea and the United States. 차윤경, 아리랑 뉴스.
The elderly population is growing, and with the number of those under 30 that choose to stay unmarried or marry late, the number of single-person households continues to rise in South Korea, with more than 8 million people living alone last year. Yoon-jin has more.
Government data based on an annual survey released on Tuesday showed that in 2024, there were 8.05 million single-person households in South Korea. People living by themselves made up around 36% of all households, making them the largest household category. Statistics Korea defines single-person households as one person who lives alone, earns their own income, cooks for themselves, and sleeps alone, a complete independent unit. Almost 20% of these single-person households were aged 70 or older, while 17.8% were aged 29 and under, making it the second consecutive year where the number of older single households exceeded the younger group. The increase in elderly single-person households has also led to increased demand for welfare services. With more than 60% of single-person households employed, the average annual income of people who live alone came to 34.23 million won. That's roughly $23,288. While this was a 6.2% jump from the previous year, it still stood at just 46.1% of the overall average income of all households. Single-person households have become the most common form of households in Korea recently, increasing in proportion by approximately 1 percentage point each year since it first exceeded 30% in 2019. Figures for 2024 showed an increase of 0.6% in the proportion of single-person households compared to the previous year, with the proportion of two-person households also rising by 0.2 percentage points. In contrast, the proportion of three-person and four or more person households decreased by 0.2 percentage points and 0.8 percentage points, respectively. By region, 42.7% of single-person households were concentrated in Seoul and Gyeonggi-do Province. A source from the Ministry of Data and Statistics said that single-person households continue to increase due to the population aging, the increase in unmarried people, as well as later marriages. The survey also showed that nearly half of all people living alone said they often or sometimes feel lonely. 이은진, 아리랑 뉴스.
As we head toward the end of the year, the National Assembly is also wrapping up its regular session today. Yet, contentious issues still remain with both the ruling party and the main opposition party refusing to back down. To discuss more on this, we have our political correspondent An Sung-jin. Welcome, Sung-jin.
Thank you for having me, Dami.
So, Sung-jin, what is exactly happening at the National Assembly tonight?
Right, Tommy. So to walk us through, today marks the last day of the regular session at the National Assembly, and a plenary session is currently underway at the moment as we speak. But the People Power Party had initiated a filibuster at the beginning of the session, which I will further explain. But to first give a recap of the day, the plenary session was supposed to start at 2 p.m., but the two main parties failed to reach an agreement on the agenda. So the leaders of the ruling and main opposition parties, as well as the National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik, agreed to postpone the session to 4 p.m. However, as the session kicked off when the DP moved forward with the controversial Franchise Business Act provision, the PPP launched a filibuster in response. Now, the first speaker in the filibuster that got her microphone cut off as the National Assembly Speaker deemed her remarks unrelated to the franchise bill. Now, other PPP lawmakers approached the Speaker to protest the decision. The National Assembly had planned to open its afternoon plenary session to process 3 government guarantee approvals along with 59 bills. However, the PPP filed for a filibuster on all 59 bills, bringing proceedings to a halt. Though we saw this coming, as earlier the PPP made it clear that if the DP pushed forward with any contentious legislation, it would launch a filibuster against any bill brought to the floor, including non-contentious ones.
I see. Then, Sung-jin, what can we expect to see in the coming days?
Right, so first, the filibuster for the plenary session will automatically adjourn at midnight as the session ends today.
Right.
And the bills will be put to vote at the first plenary session of the December extraordinary session, which will begin tomorrow. National Assembly Speaker Won-sik announced last week that the 430th extraordinary session of the National Assembly will convene at 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Well, I do have to say, it seems like negotiations will continue for a while. Sung-jin, thanks for the wrap-up today.
My pleasure as always, Dami.
After a years-long tug-of-war between Washington and Beijing over the export of high-performance AI chips to China, U.S. President Donald Trump has given the green light for China to receive NVIDIA's second-best artificial intelligence chip, the H200. Our Park Jun-han has more.
In a move that weighs the balance between U.S. economic interests and national security, U.S. President Donald Trump conditionally approved on Monday local time NVIDIA's export of its H200 artificial intelligence chips to China. The H200 semiconductor is NVIDIA's second-best AI chip behind its current Blackwell series. President Trump, through his social media channel Truth Social, said the U.S. government will allow NVIDIA to ship its H200 chips to approved customers in China, a proposal to which President Xi Jinping has responded positively. In return for the approval, the U.S. government will collect a 25% fee on those sales. Trump said the fees will be used to support American jobs, strengthen U.S. manufacturing, and benefit American taxpayers. He added that NVIDIA's current Blackwell chips and next-generation Rubin series are not part of the export approval. And the same framework will also apply to U.S. chip makers such as AMD and Intel. When the news broke that the U.S. Commerce Department was set to approve the China sales, NVIDIA's stock rose about 2% in after-hours trading on expectations that the company could see increased revenue. In a statement responding to Trump's announcement, NVIDIA's spokesman said on Monday, "We applaud President Trump's decision to allow America's chip industry to compete to support high-paying jobs and manufacturing in America." Back in August, U.S. chip giants NVIDIA and AMD agreed to pay 15% of their revenue from certain less advanced chips exported to China to the U.S. government. However, that deal stalled after the Chinese government effectively banned the use of the chips over security concerns. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
In neighboring Japan, authorities there withdrew their tsunami warnings earlier on this Tuesday after a powerful earthquake shook the country's northeastern region late Monday, hurting dozens of people and forcing thousands to evacuate. Pyongyang reports.
A magnitude 7.5 earthquake struck off the coast of Aomori Prefecture in northeastern Japan late on Monday night, shaking wide areas across the north of Honshu. It struck at around 11:15 p.m., and the epicenter was located at a depth of 54 kilometers. A strong magnitude 6.4 aftershock was recorded at 6:52 a.m. on Tuesday morning, followed by further aftershocks. Japanese officials now say the number of injured has risen to at least 30. One residential fire has been confirmed, and authorities warned the number of casualties and scale of damage may rise. Japan's Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi said the government is closely monitoring the situation and urged residents to take precautionary measures.
I immediately instructed that timely and accurate information regarding tsunamis and evacuation be provided to the public, that measures to prevent damage, such as evacuation of residents, be fully implemented, that the extent of damage be ascertained as swiftly as possible.
Takaichi also called on the public to protect their own lives first, urging residents to review evacuation routes, secure furniture, and remain prepared to flee immediately in the event of further shaking. Japanese authorities have also issued a rare advisory warning of possible large aftershocks in the Hokkaido Sanriku offshore region, using an alert system introduced in 2022 for zones where major trench earthquakes are historically expected. Around 90,000 residents in Hokkaido, Aomori, and Iwate prefectures were ordered to evacuate overnight. Chief Cabinet Secretary Minoru Kihara said the government has activated a response office inside the Prime Minister's Crisis Management Center and convened an emergency team to support rescue and relief efforts. Several bullet train services along the northeastern coast have been suspended. Japanese authorities also informed the International Atomic Energy Agency that no abnormalities were detected at the disabled Fukushima nuclear facility. Pyongyang, Arirang News.
South Korean director Park Chan-wook's latest film, No Other Choice, and Netflix animated film K-pop Demon Hunters landed major nominations at the 2026 Golden Globe Awards. Our Kim Bo-kyung tells us more.
South Korea's best-known director Park Chan-wook's film No Other Choice and Netflix's animated film K-pop Demon Hunters have officially been nominated in 3 categories of the Golden Globe each. According to the Golden Globe's official website on Monday local time, director Park's dark thriller was nominated for Best Motion Picture in the categories of musical or comedy, where it will compete against 5 rivals: Blue Moon, Begonia, Marty Scream, Nouvelle Vague, and One Battle After Another. It has also received a nomination for the non-English category, competing against 5, including the Brazilian film The Secret Agent and It Was Just an Accident. The lead actor of No Other Choice, Lee Byung-hun, received a nomination for Best Performance by a male actor in the musical or comedy categories as well. This marks the first time in 3 years that a Korean film has been nominated at the Golden Globes since Park's Decision to Leave, which was nominated for Best Non-English Language Film in 2023. Bong Joon-ho's Parasite in 2020 and Lee Isaac-chung's Minari in 2021 previously won in this category. Meanwhile, K-pop Demon Hunters was nominated for Best Animated Feature Film along with 5 other films, including Zootopia 2 and Arco, among others. It has also been nominated for Best Original Song with its lead track Golden and for the cinematic and box office achievement. First held in 1944, the Golden Globe Awards are a prestigious ceremony that evaluates achievements in film and television worldwide. A little less than 400 international voting members participate in the judging process. The 83rd Golden Globe Awards will take place on January 11th next year. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
Special exhibitions featuring the artwork of a Korean Catholic priest Kimjang, best known for his unique approach to stained glass, are taking place in Seoul until the end of this month. His works have long stood out for their distinct style, setting them apart from traditional stained glass art. Our culture correspondent Park Kwon-woo has more.
Vividly colored paint on glass that seems to tell a story or a poem. This is how Catholic priest and artist Kimjang has worked for decades, using oil pigments and brushes to create colors as radiant and transparent as light itself. His pieces look slightly different from traditional stained glass that's typically assembled by joining small pieces of colored glass together with lead. 2 special exhibitions, Poetry of Light and Light for Life, now running through this Christmas in 2 separate museums in Seoul, offer rare opportunities to appreciate Kim's work close up, including several being shown for the first time. A notable fact is that all the artwork on display is deliberately left untitled for a good reason. Behind me are Kim's latest artworks, which are also left intentionally untitled, allowing each viewer to step in with no preconceptions, just a pure personal encounter with the light and color before them.
I've been going through a dark period, feeling trapped. So I was finding a way to release some of that pressure, and this exhibition helped me out. It reminded me of a crane taking flight, so if I could name the piece, I'd call it Rise.
Although Kim is well known for his works on glass, his artistic practice extends to a variety of media, including canvas. And one remarkable characteristic of his work is the fusion of East and West.
European audiences say his art feels completely different from typical abstract or figurative works. The empty spaces reflect what influenced him since childhood, and he often uses thick calligraphy brushes along with vivid Western-style colors. These elements give his art a truly unique texture.
Kim's works throughout the years have been installed in around 50 cathedrals across Europe, including Chartres Cathedral. Now at 85 years old and living with hearing loss, he continues to work passionately, currently in France and Korea, showing no signs of slowing down. Though his pieces remain untitled, the emotions and reflections they evoke continue to illuminate those who stand before them, And perhaps that in the end is the very title he intended. 박건우, 아리랑 뉴스.
Another cold snap hit this morning, with temperatures dropping below zero across the country. Seoul started at minus 2.4 degrees Celsius, right on par with what we normally see this time of year. Morning temperatures will climb back up to the average freezing levels both tomorrow and Thursday, and highs will hover at nearly 10 degrees, so there's no major cold spell ahead. A wildfire alert remains in effect nationwide. In addition, the East Coast is under dry weather warnings, with strong winds adding to the risk. Extra caution is necessary to prevent any wildfires. Seoul and Gwangju will start off at 1 degree tomorrow morning, Chuncheon at minus 4 degrees. Daily highs will rise to 10 degrees in Seoul, 12 degrees in Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju. Later in the week, frequent rain and snow are forecast around the country. That's it for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.